The Dallas Cowboys looking for a West Coast rebound as we welcome you to the Star in Frisco. It is Cowboys pregame live, presented by WinStar World Casino and Resort, as we lead you up to kickoff of Monday Night Football. It's the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Chargers here on DallasCowboys.com. Alongside Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We have Nicole Hutchison and Nick Eatman coming up in just a matter of moments. SoFi Stadium tonight is the scene, and that is exactly where the Cowboys will look to rebound following a 42-10 loss against the San Francisco 49ers in Week 5. Week 6 is now here, and it's a chance for the Cowboys to put that one behind them.
Yeah, they got to bounce back in a huge way. I mean, San Francisco for the third straight time punched this Dallas Cowboys team square in the face. I mean, there's no ducking or dodging that. And this team has got to respond in a huge way, especially on the defensive side of the football, which they're supposed to be the strength. It's supposed to be the foundation of this team, and they gave up 42 points, a single game high last game against San Francisco. They got to respond in a big way.
Well, you went defense. I'm going to go ahead and go offense. And I think that this Mike McCarthy, Texas Coast offense has to find a way to get their playmakers the ball in their hands. We know right off the back, okay, hey, we didn't make it over to the red zone at all. You only had 8 first downs, okay? You didn't put enough points on the board, didn't give your defense even a fighting chance to have an opportunity to win this ball game. You got to find a way to move the ball. You got to find a way to get the ball in the hands of B. Cooks, CeeDee Lamb, and especially Tony Pollard.
You a church went what? Defense, you went a little offense. I'm going to go what you need to do. What you need to do is look within yourself. Take your time, prepare yourself in this game. When that game was over, I would have locked myself in the room. I would have looked at the film and saw what Nate Newton done wrong. And then I would see how it fit into the scheme. And I would make sure if I have a problem with my coach or anybody else, I'll take that up man to man and prepare myself for a great LA Chargers game.
And that's exactly what the Cowboys are going to have to do, because something has to change. Teams, after facing San Francisco since the beginning of the 2022 season, are a combined 2-18, but the Cowboys are 6-0 since the beginning of the 2022 season. So you talked about all 3 phases here. That's exactly what Mike McCarthy and company are going to try and turn things around. What do you feel like needs to go right the best coming off of that loss going into what is another really challenging matchup with the Chargers?
Well, since I went up with the defensive side of the football earlier, I'm going to stay there. I think this defense needs to get back to that physicality that we've seen in the first 2 games. I mean, last game we saw it, they got punched in the mouth and they were not able to respond. They were running downhill all over the Dallas Cowboys. And they have a big injury with Leighton Vander Esch in the middle. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later. But they're going to have to find a way to get more physical in the trenches and win that battle in the trenches, because I believe it all starts there. You can't cover in the back end without guys coming at getting after the quarterback on that defensive line. So we've got to see the physicality of the Dallas Cowboys this afternoon.
I agree with you. The physicality is absolutely everything. You got to bring that to it if you want to have a fighting chance at all. However, you have to be able to move this ball, and that's what the Dallas Cowboys have to get back to doing. You look at the first 3 games of the season, they're moving the ball very well, 75 to 80 plays a game. All of a sudden, you slide back down to the 49ers, and you can't move the ball, right? So you have to initiate that and play the good old game that Nate Newton likes to play, and that's good keep away.
You know, the physical part is what we're talking about, and this is where the middle of our offensive line has to play much better. Last week they were kind of handled, so the middle of our offensive line has to play better to give our tackles a chance to compete today.
Overall, the offensive line will be tested by the Chargers because they've got a pass rush, of course, with guys like Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I wanted to ask you guys, Barry, Isaiah, did you ever do anything special to get a loss like that behind you, just to kind of turn things around? Did you ever leave town? Did you ever go take in some scenery or something like that?
No, I kind of just looked at myself like, man, what do I got to do to get better? Because, I mean, you're going to go through that film. You're going to see the coaches. They're going to pinpoint everything you did wrong on there. So you kind of wallow in pity for a little bit, but then you realize, hey, you got a job to do and you got to bounce back. So hopefully that's what the Dallas Cowboys do this afternoon.
What have you done before?
You know what?
To
put it behind me, especially this year, I watched my Washington Huskies go ahead and beat up on the Oregon Ducks. But, you know, I've never really hopped in a car or traveled or anything like that. How about, have you, Kyle?
I haven't. Has Nate, have you taken a cross-country road trip to see an old friend?
Yeah, just to flush out things. I got to get my mind free. And when I see the countryside, the wildness, the Montana sky, yes, that's what I do.
How about that? How about taking a visit with your old buddy, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, up in Boulder? Now, unfortunately, Prime Time and the Colorado Buffs couldn't hold on to a 29-point halftime lead. But what would you, how fun was that, going back and hanging out with Coach Prime?
It was fun to watch that to get up there and see how beautiful Boulder is, and it was fun to get back on the road and get back here. Say, hope that we defeat the Chargers. I need a victory because if it weren't for Isaiah, I would have been 0-3.
What do you think Coach Prime would say to this Cowboys team if he had a chance to have a locker room speech going into a game?
Bow your neck. It's time to play. Show people who you really are. You wasn't prepared as much as you thought you was. This week, don't second-guess yourself. Be prepared and go out there and execute.
Hey, I like it. I think anytime you could get a cross-country road trip in, kind of sneak it in. Nate didn't tell either one of us.
Not at all. Not at all.
I didn't get in.
That's unfortunate. Well, Barry loves the slopes in Colorado. I think he would have loved to ride along with Nate Newton on the road trip. But looked like a ton of fun. You guys did a great job and posting that on social media. We thought we'd point it out for a former Cowboys legend. How about that?
Wow.
Let's take a look at the inactive list for this week as the Cowboys get ready to face the Los Angeles Chargers. Deuce Vaughn, probably the biggest inactive surprise up there at the top. Malik Davis elevated from the practice squad. Noah Igbenogany, who's been playing significant snaps on special teams, he's unable to go, but Nashawn Wright is active for the first time this season. Wanye Thomas dealing with an injury. He is out in terms of the inactives. And then some of those rookies down there at the bottom, Jalen Brooks, Viliami Fehoko, and then the emergency quarterback, Trey Lance, rounding things out with the Cowboys inactives. And there's lots of injuries to react from in that Week 5 loss against San Francisco. Barry, I'll start with you. Who has to step up, and how do the Cowboys fill the void of a guy like Leighton Vander Esch? It's been tough filling in for him in the past. How do they do it this time?
Yeah, that's a huge void that they're going to have to fill defensively. And to me, I'm going to go with Damone Clark on this one. He's going to have to step up and be that 3-down linebacker that does not come off the field. He's going to have to be that quarterback of the defense, because when you look at it, whoever they replace Vander Esch with, they're either going to have little playing experience or they're going to have little experience within Dan Quinn's system. So Damone Clark's going to have to make sure his job is completely right, as well as the guy next to him. That is a tough task, and I'm expecting Damone Clark to step up in a huge way tonight for the Dallas Cowboys.
I think Damone Clark's definitely the way to go. You know, if it's not Damone Clark, I would normally go with Wanye Thomas, but we don't have him tonight. So we're going to have to go down to number 14, Marquise Bell. He's been playing a lot lately. He was a special teams contributor, and he's been playing a lot on the defensive side of the ball, but he hasn't had that much of an impact. So I need him to step his game up, come out there and show up in a big way and for his team.
What you have to do is know who you are. When we're talking about
Marquise Bell.
Marquise Bell, this guy has to understand you're not a big guy. Don't take guys on. Learn angles. Come at guys in angles. You come there at a 300-pounder. Don't hit me straight on. Hit me with play side shoulder and make sure you maintain. But Clark, you're the man. Make the call. You have the ability. You have the skills to do it. Just make your call and flow with it, man.
So you guys mentioned Damone Clark significantly there. Nobody bringing up Micah Parsons. And Dan Quinn said it was a possibility earlier in the week. Does Micah take a step back off of the line of scrimmage and play significant snaps at linebacker this time?
I hope not. I hope not. I did not like what I saw out of Micah Parsons at the linebacker level. I don't think that he possesses the linebacker instincts or the agility. That's no knock on him as an athlete. Obviously, he's a freakish athlete, but do what he does best, and that's put him at the defensive end position and cause havoc for these offensive tackles and quarterbacks.
I'm with you, Isaiah. You got to leave him on the defensive line and does what he does best, and that's hunt and get after the quarterback. When you go into that second level, there's a lot of things you got to read. You got to read your keys, pulling guards. I mean, there's a lot of eye candy. We saw that last week with the San Francisco 49ers. That's just not something you just hop up in there and decide that you can play. So to me, he doesn't have the reps at linebacker. Leave him at defensive end and let him cause havoc.
What we have to understand here is this guy's a downhill guy. Even if you put him at linebacker, you always want him on the move blitzing. If he had, like Barry said, if you have to sit back there and read some keys, you're taking away from everything that this guy is. He's competitive. He likes to mix it up. Defensive end is where he's at, and defensive end is where he's the best at.
Nate's saying that you just want to mix it up. You want to keep everybody off balance all the way to make sure that things stay in favor of Micah Parsons. Only one sack and only one pressure combined of the 8 games in his career where he's had at least 30 snaps at the linebacker position. He's been far more effective up at the line of scrimmage as a pass rusher. We'll see exactly how Dan Quinn and this team utilize Micah Parsons in Week 6 against the Chargers. We talk about Leighton Vander Esch, but there was another big injury to the special teams unit. C.J. Goodwin goes down. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, possibly more, with a torn pectoral. He's hopeful he can get back within a month and a half, Barry, but how big of a loss is having C.J. Goodwin no longer on that special teams unit?
Well, Kyle, that's a huge loss. I know the special teams doesn't really get a lot of love out there when you're talking offense and defense, but but this is an important phase, and C.J. Goodwin was at the top of his craft. When you talk about a guy that played gunner, played 5 on the kickoff, is always the first one down there, forcing fair catches, making big plays, forcing that opposing team to be backed up in their territory, that was C.J. Goodwin, and they're going to miss him in a huge way. So we're going to need guys like maybe a Jalen Tolbert, like maybe a Nashawn Wright who's healthy now, to go out there and fill that void. But losing C.J. Goodwin for the special teams, that's a huge one this afternoon.
I mean, that's a double-headed monster. You lost C.J. Goodwin, but you also lost Wanye Thomas, somebody that we talked about. Those are 2 of your 5 core special teamers. And when you lose 2 of your 5 core special teamers, that's going to hurt you in a bad way, especially when you have a Vander Esch out, because now you're going to be asking somebody who typically plays special teams, i.e. Malik Jefferson, to come in and fill that void. And when he comes in and fills that void, you're taking reps off of the special teams unit, and you're weakening that third of the game.
Fellas, let's be honest. Guys that come down on the kickoff, he's the 5. He go anywhere he want to go. Yeah. Now guys have to be very disciplined. Stay in your lanes. Don't take chances. And when you're that gunner outside, he can come up and he can take shots because he will hold players up. Now you stay where you need to play. You stay on that upfield deal and turn this guy back in. Y'all are not these guys, not this guy C.J. Goodwin. He is a beast. Mm-hmm. He is equal to Micah Parsons on our defense. Now he is not there. Stay in your lanes. Do your job. And be very disciplined.
To a casual fan, somebody on the outside looking in, you see C.J. Goodwin on the injury report. May not look like a big-time void, but it certainly is. You can hear about the impact from these 3 guys, all of which that know the impact of special teams and what it has on the roster. But the Cowboys need role players to step up, not only on defense in the absence of Leighton Vander Esch, but also with that special teams unit in the absence of C.J. Goodwin. Let's hear from Damone Clark, who we mentioned filling that void at the linebacker spot, and the new mentality that he has to bring to the table this week.
I mean, next man up mentality, you know what I'm saying? The guys in this locker room, the guys on defense, the coaches, we know what we have to do. You know, we're not going to make it a big deal. Obviously, we lost Leighton, but that's another opportunity for myself, Malik Jefferson, for Marquise Bell. That's more opportunity for us to step up, and we're going to do it.
Can you talk a little bit about ways in which you can step up?
Oh, just go out there and be more vocal. I'm not going to do nothing that I haven't done already. You know, I'm not going to make this moment no bigger than what it already is. I'm going to go out there. I have the trust in my coaches, the trust in my teammates. I'm going to go out there and be me. And like I just was telling those guys, I'm going to play for myself. I'm going to play for this team, my family, and I'm going to do it for Leighton because I know he want to be out there with us.
How big of a challenge is Austin Eckler?
I mean, obviously, he in the league, you know. You couldn't get here just for no reason, you know what I'm saying? So obviously he has his strengths, we have our strengths, and it's going to be fun. We go out there and play on Monday.
How do y'all respond after a week like last week?
The only way to sit there and get the bad taste out of our mouth, we got to go kick somebody else's ass. Like that's the bottom line. That's what we have to do.
So Damone Clark talking about what they need to do from a defensive standpoint. He's not alone on that second level. He's going to have to help fill in for Leighton Vander Esch, who's out 4 to 6 weeks with that neck injury. Hopefully Leighton Vander Esch back in the fold before you know it. But it is going to be a challenge for this defense as a whole because they've got plenty of weapons to go up against this week. Kellen Moore makes his return, the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. Of course, playing his former team where he was the offensive coordinator for 4 seasons. With more on that, here's Nicole Hutchison over at the Miller Lighthouse.
Hey Kyle, I'm not too far from you guys. I'm right here at the Miller Lighthouse at the Star, and there's no other game day experience like a game day experience here at the Miller Lighthouse at the Star. They have everything you need, right? Grab and go beverages, grab and go snacks, a tailgate games, a recharging lounge, a Dallas Cowboys photo op, and complimentary concierge services. So if you want to experience a game day like a game day here at the Miller Lighthouse at the Star, visit thestarinfrisco.com/Miller Lighthouse. But since we're already talking about features, right? This Kellen Moore offense features a lot of playmakers, and this Dallas Cowboys defense knows that. I spoke with a couple of guys earlier this week, and they know that that tape they put on film against the 49ers is not the true identity of this team, and they are so ready to put some more tape, a better tape on film against the Chargers tonight, and they are ready to go. The Dallas Cowboys defense through the first 4 weeks of the season had been the most dominant unit in the NFL. They were physical, fast, electric. Let's go, let's go. and caused havoc for opposing offenses, ranking them number 1 in points allowed, QB pressures, passer rating allowed, and second in the NFL in 4 other categories. But Week 5 was a humbling experience. The boys were handed their worst loss in over a decade.
I don't think there's a person not frustrated in this locker room. I feel like we need to change some things. It's like when we on, but I never seen a champion not be battle tested.
You definitely want to make sure that that doesn't linger. You know, it's okay to use the the anger and the disappointment, but not where it goes on and on into the next phase.
Well, the gloves are being brought out again, this time against the LA Chargers Monday night. And it's a reunion in SoFi Stadium with former Cowboys offensive coordinator Kellen Moore.
There you go, good. Hey, let's go.
From the Cowboys offensive sideline to the Chargers, taking the Bolts offense from 13th to 5th in the NFL.
He gets his playmakers the ball. So you can see a lot of different looks in order to get his playmakers the ball. Keenan Allen can be at 1. He can be lining up in the backfield. He can be at 2. He can be at 3, facing a linebacker. So he just puts his playmakers in the right positions to go out there and make plays.
The guys know what a Kellen Moore offense brings. They practiced against it just a season ago. And while it may be the first time Dallas is facing Kellen Moore for the real deal, it isn't new for defensive coordinator Dan Quinn. In 2020, Moore's offense hung 40 points against Dan Quinn and the Falcons. The only other team to do that, the Super Bowl champs, Tampa Bay.
He always knew how to use his pieces. And, he had explosive pieces out there like he does with the Chargers now. So, he utilizes his talent to the best of his ability, and he does a really good job. They putting up points out there.
Moore's thing for lighting up scoreboards is not new.
Hey, there we go.
Through 4 seasons in Dallas, the Cowboys ranked 2nd in the league in points per game with Moore as the play caller.
Obviously, they got some athletes there, good quarterback who can make it just about any throw out there. So it's not going to be an easy week for us. Like I said, we got to lock in and feel like we lock in on what we're supposed to do. I feel like we're a hard team to beat.
The first meeting since the Cowboys and Kellen Moore parted ways this offseason. And the boys' defense looking to bring their fire back. Expect some electricity on the West Coast Monday night. It's going to be a good one out in the West Coast. Hopefully the Dallas Cowboys get it done today and head into the bye week with some confidence and another win under their belt. But that'll do it here at the Miller Lite House at the Star. Back to you, Kyle.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Once on the same staff, now squaring off for the first time, at least with Kellen Moore no longer with the Dallas Cowboys. Of course, second all-time meeting between these two as play callers, because back in 2020, Dan Quinn, who was on the Atlanta Falcons coaching staff, gave up 40 points to Kellen Moore when he was an offensive coordinator with the Dallas Cowboys. So I ask you, gentlemen, I'll start with you, Nate Newton. Who has the advantage in terms of the two coordinators doing battle tonight?
I think it comes down to the players who execute the scheme that both coaches present. But I would like to think that if our defense play up to its level of ferociousness, Coach Quinn should have the advantage.
I'm going to go ahead and say that the Chargers and Kellen Moore have the advantage on this one, just seemingly because of the fact that I think Kellen Moore knows exactly where the threats are defensively, and I think personnel-wise, when you line up across the board, this receiving core is pretty doggone solid, especially when you throw in Austin Eckler into the mix.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Big Nate on this one. I feel as though Dan Quinn and his defense, I think they have the advantage when it comes to the trenches, and I believe that they will take advantage of that and make things hard for Justin Herbert back there throughout this game. So tonight, I believe that Dan Quinn and his defense, they got the advantage over Kellen Moore.
Mike McCarthy did say earlier in the week that it had to do with personnel.
Yeah.
Different personnel, different results, not so much the coaching staff and the coaching battle. Do you believe that mindset from Mike McCarthy and what he brings to the table this week as these two do the chess?
Without a doubt, I always believe that, the personnel overcomes coaching in some instances. And for this specific instance, I believe that Parsons, D-Law, and that crew along the defensive line will have the advantage going against Slater and that offensive line for the Los Angeles Chargers. Will it be a slugfest? Of course it'll be a slugfest. That's where we can't expect anything less. But I believe the Dallas Cowboys do have the advantage overall.
I don't know, BC, man. We're going to have an opportunity to check it out, though. But I think this offense, again, Kellen Moore and how creative he is. And I think he knows what causes this defense issues. It's been on film, and he obviously knows about it from being in the building. And I think he's just going to confuse these guys too much today.
This dude is not talking with his chest. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know
You
if I've
said it
ever
with your
heard
chest.
Isaiah say, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, I
He
ain't
did
to
it
that.
twice.
Yeah,
Did
I
it
don't believe.
twice.
Uh-oh.
Say what you really want
Tell
to
us
say
what you
here,
really
guys.
feel, Isaiah.
You want to know what I really feel?
Yes, I want to know what you really
Get the
feel.
people what they want.
Get the people what we want. Listen up here, okay? You got Austin Eckler coming into the building, and you got Austin Eckler, Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, one of the best receivers that ever do it, okay? And you're bringing those guys out there against not your best, okay? You have your best defensive line. You don't have your best second level, okay? Vander Esch is out. He's not calling the shots. Malik Hooker's calling the shots. He's going to have the green dot on his head. So you're asking a Damone Clark to play defense man-to-man against Austin Eckler. I'm not sure that can happen.
That's what we wanted. That's what we
That's what
wanted
people
right
wanted.
there.
That's what the
Hey,
people
are you
wanted.
not entertained?
I was over here taking notes because I
Jeez.
finally feel like we heard from the real Isaiah here. I like it. Very good. Now, with that being said, Kellen Moore has done a great job at this point. He has turned around, say what you want, do what you want whenever it comes to Kellen Moore. As far as the numbers go, he has put up fantastic numbers on the offensive end for Los Angeles, as opposed to really the Dallas offense at this point that has had some struggles. So I ask you the question, Isaiah, I'll go right back to you. Does the Dallas offense miss Kellen Moore at the offensive coordinator position?
Yes, they miss Kellen Moore, but I'm going to go ahead and tell everybody that it's time, okay, for my boy Dak Prescott
Somebody
to
get
figure some things out. So being that it's time, I'm going to go ahead and put on my handy dandy. I know we're not on a one shot, but these boys see it. Listen up here.
Yeah.
Dak Prescott, it's time to step up, okay? Mike McCarthy, it's time to open this offense up. You've been playing West Coast offense this entire time. I'm not saying that you have to change things up in that regard, but you have to change up how you line up. You have to change up how you shift. You have to change up the personnel that you have, the personnel groupings. It is absolutely time for you to change it up to make these guys second guess what you're doing offensively.
So, with that being said, Barry, I mean, you're looking at this offense as a whole. Do you see any potential for taking that step up this week against this Chargers defense?
They're going to have to. They're going to have to. I mean, look, when you look at this Chargers defense overall, they're not very good. I think they're last against the pass, and their secondary. I mean, when you look at it stat-wise, or when you look at it personnel-wise, they got a bunch of players that can play ball. But stat-wise, they are not looking too good. So I think McCarthy and his offense should be able to take advantage of that secondary. We got to see Dak Prescott go out there and be cool, calm, and efficient, make the throws, and don't compound errors. If it's not open out there, throw the football away or check down. You should be able to have your way against this Los Angeles Chargers defense. They've got to get the job done tonight.
The preseason is over. That fifth game is over. That disaster that we had last week. What you need to do now is just step up your game. Like Barry said, execute. It's about execution, about a coach calling a play and making it happen, whether you're at the wide receiver, the running back, or the offensive line position. Execute.
You got to execute, got to find a way to get it done this week, because overall, this is an offense that has looked stagnant as opposed to an offense that's top 5 right now. Now, as we get back here, I want to point out what Isaiah was doing here with the watch. He said it's time, right? What was it? It's time. And he whips this out like it's nothing. Look at this.
Oh, look at the bezel. Oh, my goodness. Whew, that's icy right
I
there.
went to
my
Barry's house. Listen,
It was a gift.
It was a gift. It had to be a gift.
8 first downs, 10 points. It's time to step it up.
Got to.
We understand that the offense has changed, but it's time to change the things up, and we need the best Mike McCarthy to show up. We need to get the ball in the hands of Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks. You brought these guys aboard. You're paying these guys the money. Let's let them do what they do best and make plays.
Don't forget about Fergie.
Oh,
Fergie should eat today.
We'll talk about Ferguson a little bit later on, but before we get to that, let's go back out to SoFi Stadium, where we hear from Nick Harris and Nick Eatman on the sideline. Nick, take it away.
Thank you, Kyle, and you really can't get more Nick at night than this right here for Monday Night Football. Nick Eatman, Nick Harris, what's up, man? Is it your first Monday Night Football game?
Yeah, it is. It's my first time at SoFi Stadium, too, so a lot of firsts here tonight.
What you thinking? A little hotter than normal?
Yeah, whenever we walked out onto the field, I was telling Patrick Walker, I was like, it's a little bit hotter than I expected, but no, it's a really good environment. A lot of Cowboys fans here, so super excited about this one.
All right, inactives came out a little bit ago. What are some of any things kind of jump out at you there, Cowboys or Chargers?
Yeah, so Deuce Vaughn, he's inactive today. Malik Davis will be taking his spot as far as a running back goes. He was elevated from the practice squad today. On the Chargers side, Joey Bosa, he's going to be active and ready to go, along with Austin Eckler and Justin Herbert, so they're going to be fully loaded, just as the Cowboys will be.
Yeah, the Cowboys get that 1 day extra, day for Monday Night Football, on a Monday. The Chargers have been off, for 15 days. So but going back to what you said about Deuce Vaughn being inactive, to me, it kind of shows Cavante Turpin with an ankle injury. He looks like he should be ready to go. And he said it the other day that this is his house because he did have those 2 big returns. They could definitely use something like that.
Yeah, definitely reminiscent of his preseason performance against the Chargers here at SoFi Stadium last year. But we're seeing him take punt return drills as we speak right now. He's looking pretty good. Now, Jalen Brooks is active today. That's only the second time he's been active so far this season. So we'll see if maybe he steps in for more receiver roles instead of Turpin. But I would still expect to see Turpin a part of the offense today, too.
If you got any former Cowboys over here, I see what Aikman, Marcus Spears, anybody could help suit up in this game, you think?
Yeah, right.
Brian Clark, the whole ESPN crew's over here.
Yeah, for sure. It's a who's who on this sideline.
What do you like about the way the Cowboys have or dislike, whatever, what have you seen from the Cowboys this week as they try to bounce back from that tough loss against the 49ers?
Yeah, I really think that extra day this week really helped. They didn't start practice till Thursday. It gave them that extra day to go back and see what really went wrong in San Francisco. I think the approach this week has been a lot more mature, a lot more professional from these guys. Not to say that it wasn't going into San Francisco. It's just about that bounce back effort and knowing that it's any given Sunday. This league, it changes every week. We saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
The Eagles and 49ers losing to teams. But I think they've approached this week very, very appropriately, and I think it's going to set them up for success tonight.
Yeah, I think the difference between being 4-2 and 3-3 just seems monumental. You know, it's just so big going into a bye week. But you said it best yesterday. The league is so weird. You know, strange things happen every game. As soon as you think you know something, I think it puts a lot of pressure on the Cowboys for this game. You've got to go take this game. You can do that going into the bye week. Nobody's really too far away from you, but like you said, anything can happen.
Yeah, this is a huge determining factor as far as momentum goes, especially with the bye week next week. You're either going in 3-3 with 2 losses against really good teams to end out your first stretch of the season, or you're going in 4-2 with an opportunity to play the Rams and then the Eagles right after that. And if you're still at 5-2 going into the Eagles game, then you have an opportunity to go take the lead in the division. But first things first, you got to win so far tonight, and then hopefully they can go into the bye week with a little bit of momentum, a little bit of positivity.
Sounds good. All right, Nick Harris, I'm Nick Eatman. We'll throw back to Kyle and the crew.
Thank you very much, Nick Harris and Nick Eatman out there on the sideline. Nick Eatman will catch up with Cowboys COO Stephen Jones in a couple of moments. But before we get to that, of course, let's check in with Dak Prescott. He was frustrated after the performance last week against San Francisco and now is turning his attention to the Chargers and a rebound in Week 6.
You're pissed, right? You went out there, and we went out there, put a performance out there like that, myself. Something you're not proud of, something that, as I said before, that you didn't see coming at all with just the way that we prepared, our confidence level. So the last thing that we can do is allow that to really linger into the week. So, I mean, yeah, especially having the extra day. I mean, I guess we had the extra day to put it behind us, watch the film, whether that been Wednesday, and then come in and close the book on that and move forward to the Chargers, which are a really good team. And you don't have time in this league to have a hangover. And even after a game like that, as disappointing as it is, it's one game, thankfully. It's one game, and we've got to move forward, and we get a chance to go out here Monday night and put something else on tape and move forward as we get into go into this bye week and get ready to build off of that.
You have had a history of bouncing back from losses, but because this one you said a number of times you didn't see coming, it was like being blindsided. Does that make it tougher to move on?
No, I think no, not at all. I think if anything, I don't want to say easier in the sense, but you can't be shaken by it. You can't change your preparation. You can't change anything you've done because of that happened. I mean, bad night, bad timing for some turnovers. And we just couldn't do anything on offense. And at the end of the day, it goes into the third downs that were really manageable and things that we've been the best at in the league. We weren't able to do that. But credits to that. That's why our score looks like that, and that's why the game looks like it does. And so, as I said, no, it's a turn the page, it's a move forward, or you know that it's going to be a landslide, and that's absolutely the last thing that's going to happen.
Dak Prescott looking to rebound. It has been tough for Dak throughout his career after games with 3 or more turnovers. He's 0-6, and you see the turnover to touchdown ratio, just 8-6 in favor of the touchdowns. The passing yards goes down, the passer rating goes down, but Dak looking for a big-time rebound this week, back on the West Coast. How does he get there?
Look, I expect Dak to rebound in a big way. When you look at this Chargers defense, I mean, they've been god-awful so far this year. I mean, 31st in the National Football League in yards per game. I mean, this is a game suited for Dak Prescott to go out there and rebound. I expect him to be cool, calm, and collected. I expect McCarthy out there to put him in good position to make plays out there. He just can't, like I said earlier, compound those issues. If he's able to take care of the football, I see the Dallas Cowboys walking away with a W tonight.
I hope that he can get back on his feet. I mean, the reality is he had a good first handful of games. I mean, that last game obviously just put him into a bad way. He has 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions through the first part of this season. He's still trying to figure out what this offense is all about. But the reality is, with this quick game, they want to push the ball down the field. They need splash plays. They need to get their playmakers involved. This is not the defense to do it against, simply because they play a bend but don't break defense, okay? They want to keep everything in front of them. They play cover 4, the guys sit back. So it actually works out great for this West Coast offense, but I have to understand, do they want to stay with the quick game and be patient, or do they want to take the splash plays? If they want to sit back and hold the ball, they got to deal with them 2 boys on the outside, and Khalil Mack and good old Bosa.
Yeah, the thing here is you have to go back and look at film. This is a great week for these coaches and Dak to sit down. I'm talking about with the head coach and the offensive coordinator, the quarterback coach. This is a good time for them to sit down and break down what you have done good, what in the past, and what you can do within this offense to help this thing prosper. You have to free yourself, Dak. It ain't always up to the coach. Sometimes you have to sit down, look at what you do best, and be the football player that we've known you to be.
Isaiah, you touched on it just very briefly there, but go into more detail on how this Chargers defense matches up. What do they do differently, and is it enough for really to be exactly what Dak Prescott needs to see going into Week 6?
Yeah, so this is what people want to hear. The West Coast offense is built for this type of defense that they're about to face. The reason being is because the West Coast offense gets the ball out your hands quickly. They want to get back to running 75, 80 plays a game. You want to get the ball in your playmaker's hand. Ferguson, okay? You want to get CD on slants and B. Cooks. You want to do all those things. However, I don't foresee the Chargers continuing to play the same style of defense that they've been playing. They're playing off coverage. I think they saw the tape and they saw exactly what the 49ers did. They have the personnel. Much like the Cowboys offense has been underutilized, the defensive personnel for the Chargers has been underutilized. Asante Samuel Jr., Murray, Derwin James, Khalil Mack, Bosa. They have the names. It's just a matter of them being put in a position to be successful. I think they changed entirely what they've been doing this week.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% when you talk about this is the defense for this West Coast offense to go. Because when you talk about getting the ball out of your hands fast and getting the ball to your playmakers in space, this is perfect because that Chargers defense, they sit back and they give you the space to operate. So I can see them doing CD Lamb, Cooks on some shallows, maybe dumping the ball off to Tony Pollard in the flat and letting him get busy out there. They've got to get these guys the ball in space and let them do work. We're tired of seeing these, catch curls and tackles, catch and tackle. We need some yak yardage out here, and this offense is suited perfectly for that with CD Lamb, with a Gallup, with the Cooks, with a Pollard. All these guys are great after the catch. We have to use their talents, and it has to happen tonight.
It's not much more I can add. These 2 guys have done a super job, but all I'm asking is be consistent. Be consistent in what you're doing. Have balance. Make sure you use Tony Pollard, not only for the run, but for the pass. I've used them a lot these past few weeks.
Yeah, you got to find a way to get those guys involved. Now, from one quarterback to the other, Justin Herbert's had a much better start to the season, but he hasn't necessarily had the defensive help like Isaiah was talking about to try and back up these great numbers. Over 70% completion, nearly 280 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, just the 1 interception so far this season for Justin Herbert. What does he do best, Barry, when you look at the film and what he brings to the table?
Well, when I look at Justin Herbert, I think this is the best quarterback that this Dallas Cowboys defense is going to have to play so far this year. When you talk about a talent standpoint, he has the arm to make all the throws. He has the athletic ability to hurt you with his legs out there. But what Dan Quinn and his defense is going to have to do, they're going to have to make things uncomfortable for Justin Herbert out there. And I'm talking about the edge pressure. They're going to have to get in this guy's face, and you're going to have to disguise coverages in the back end. If you give this guy a study guide before the test, which means you're just going to go out there and cover 3 and play cover 3, he's going to pick you apart. You got to disguise your coverages, and getting a pass rush, generating a pass rush is a must this afternoon, because if he can go out there and has too much time out there, this offense is just too explosive. They've got to make things hard for Herbert this afternoon.
Yeah, you just talked about you have to make Herbert uncomfortable.
Yes.
And by doing that, you have to get into the backfield. If you don't do that, I'm going to show you exactly what he did. Weeks 1 through 3, this dude has 74% completion rate. Okay, this dude was averaging over 330 yards per game. He had 6 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. That's not what you want to hear, Nate Dogg. But check this out, okay? As you went into week 4 against the Las Vegas Raiders, things changed up. Dropped down to 24 attempts instead of 40 attempts. Dropped down to 54% completion instead of 74% completion. Something they did over there in the Raider Nation worked against these guys. You need to go in there, Dan Quinn, find out what they did, dial that up, and make sure you input that into this week's game plan.
Can you leave a little meat on the bone?
I'm sorry, brother. I'm hungry.
To the bone grizzle, Nate.
All I know is he's a prototype quarterback. He's 6'6", 200, about 25, 30 pounds. He can run. He can throw. He's everything these guys said he is. We have to be careful and keep pressure on this kid.
And he's also 3-0 all-time against top 5 pass rushes, and that's exactly what the Dallas defense brings to the table is a top 5 pass rush. But let's talk about his wide receivers a little bit. Weapons galore on the outside. We mentioned Kellen Moore earlier, but it all starts with Keenan Allen. How has Keenan Allen evolved his game to help out Justin Herbert and continue to build this Chargers offensive attack?
Well, when you look at Keenan Allen, he's a student of the game. And what I mean by that is he breaks everything down to the last particle out there. With his release, he's looking at what makes this defensive back go this way, what makes him go that way. Him and his quarterback, Justin Herbert, are kind of like on that same wavelength. All right, they understand defenses and what they're trying to do to attack them. So when you look at this receiving core, even though they're without Mike Williams, they are extremely dangerous. And when you have a guy like Justin Herbert who can make all the throws and extend plays in the pocket to give his receivers time to go out there and get open, it makes it extremely hard for a secondary to cover down. So that's why I say getting a pass rush is a must tonight.
You better be back there. That's all I'm saying. Because Keenan Allen, listen up, he is one of the best guys to do it in a very long time. He's been Mr. Consistency for the Chargers. It doesn't matter if it's Phillip Rivers throwing him the ball or Herbert, okay? It really doesn't matter. This guy is somebody that they will target and have targeted 20 times in one game. Out of those 20 targets, 18 catches. This dude is a complete dog, Nate Dogg, and I don't know if you traffic and you follow somebody around the field with him or if you just let him line up where he be. But he lines up one way, he'll shift to another spot, he'll motion out. It looks like Canadian football when he's on the field because he's hardly ever played being still.
35 receptions, 434 yards, 12.4 average, 3 TDs, 42 long so he can still get deep. This kid is the ultimate route runner, 108 yards per game. I tell you what, man, and I know this is a forbidden name. I ain't seen nothing like this since Amari Cooper.
Ooh.
Yeah. Route running like that, bro. Everybody playing checkers and he playing chess.
Honestly, I agree with you because he and Amari Cooper have been the really upper echelon of route runners in the NFL in terms of receivers, at least through this generation of wide receivers, and he's gotten better as his career has gone along at doing so. But this wide receiver core as a whole, just 2 drops, which is the fewest in the NFL. What makes the wide receivers on this Chargers roster outside of Keenan Allen so effective with the football?
Well, they play off each other extremely well. I mean, one, like you said, Keenan Allen, he can play all 3 positions. And you got Josh Palmer out there as well. And even though they're without Mike Williams, they kind of put Eckler in that spot as well when you talk about receiving out of the backfield. And like I said, when you have a quarterback like that can make all the throws, when you only have 2 drop passes out there, that means that guy is putting it on the money. Like, it's either your ball or it's nobody's ball. So 2 drop passes, that's immaculate. And it's secondary for the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to have their work cut out for them tonight.
Well, it's easy. It's catch radius. It's size. The smallest man on their field when their starters are playing is Joshua Palmer at 6'1", 210 pounds. That's their smallest receiver that steps on the field. Outside of that, you got Keenan Allen. You got Everett over there at the tight end position. 6'3", 6'4", 210, 245 pounds at tight end. These guys are large human beings, and then you couple that with the fact that they have a large human being at the quarterback position that can throw the ball all over the place. Oh, and by the way, Kellen Moore, who makes sure that those guys get open all the time, that's a bad combination. So what do? Even though these guys are larger, you come up and you disrupt their ability to get off the ball, and you pray and hope that your guys up front, Micah Parsons, can get home.
And don't sleep on the kid from TCU, Johnson, the first-round pick.
Yeah.
That guy's a big guy, and he can stretch the field. This secondary can't sleep on him as well.
Boy, you guys fight to get on this mic tonight. I love it. That's for me to do.
I'm going to make sure Nate speaks first from here on out. I'm going to make sure Nate gets the first word in.
But what the common factor is the quarterback. He's precise, he's accurate, and he's very, very efficient. Kellen Moore has this guy going in the right direction.
So what you guys are saying, that whenever you have weapons on the offensive side of the ball, get them the football and do it early, often, and throughout the game, right?
Yes.
That's kind of the key to success offensively.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear from CeeDee Lamb earlier in the week and exactly where the Cowboys have had some lapses on the offensive side and how they can maybe get CeeDee Lamb involved early in the ball game tonight.
And me as a competitor, man, I like to win, right? First and foremost, I don't care how that looks. I am an ultimate competitor. I do anything in my power for my team, for my guys, for my boys. They know this. It's nothing ever personal. This is all, for the better. Like, I want to win, and I want to contribute. Point blank, period.
Do you say that last game was as frustrated as you've been with the Cowboys, and how do you kind of channel that going forward after a game like that, those emotions?
Absolutely. Obviously, had time to reflect, self-reflect, that is, and I didn't go the best route, to get my end result, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I do have a job to do, and and I want to contribute to this team, so I do everything in my power week in and week out to do that. And going forward, it's a better way or a better situation, or like I said, a better way to go about it, make it a bet, make it lighter of the situation. But it was cool.
You tired of people reading your body language?
Yeah, because they swear they know me.
Right.
I don't know none of them.
Right. So people, how are you feeling though about your season and what's going on?
Obviously, I didn't get the start that I wanted. I have high expectations for myself. Every week after the game, I have time to self-reflect and kind of think of what's going on, what am I doing to help the team? Have I done anything, in my opinion, to contribute to a win? And when I have no as an answer, once again, to myself, then that's when I start to figure out ways of being better for my team and being a better player and being a better teammate.
CeeDee Lamb has finished with fewer than 5 receptions in 4 of the 5 games this year with the Dallas Cowboys. He had just 2 such games in all of the 2022 season. Barry, how can Dallas utilize him a little bit more?
Well, they got to find a way to get this man the ball. When we look at it, you look at all the great receivers in the National Football League right now. Tyreek Hill out in Miami. Cooper Kupp when he comes back to the Rams. They find ways to get their main players involved early and often. They got to do that same thing with CeeDee Lamb. I feel like he has those same traits as those other guys when you talk about #1 wide receivers, but they got to find more creative ways to get him the ball, whether that's jailbreak schemes where he's catching the ball and going behind his offensive lineman, shallows, whatever the case may be. They got to get this man the ball because your offense right now is stagnant, and this is the guy, in my opinion, who can get you out of that.
When you look at the stat line of the top 5 offenses in the league, I want you guys to see what the commonality is. Dolphins, Eagles, 49ers, Bills, Chargers. One thing that those guys all have in common, you never know where their personnel is going to line up. They're always moving around. If you have a CeeDee Lamb on your team with the abilities that he has, you have to find a way, like Barry said, to get him the ball. That sounds really generic. Okay, how do you do that? You start off in a bunch. You shift them out to wide. You have to start out wide. You shift them down to a tight split. Either way, you have to make Barry and the rest of the guys in the secondary decide on whose responsibilities are what and who's going to guard this man, because when you just line up, you make their job entirely too easy.
I have a problem with this because when you are your #1 receiver and he has to ask for the ball and he has to get all the way out to the media like it has in this situation here, that's not right. The coaches should know that we cannot win games the way we should without getting your #1 receiver. This kid grew into this position. He went through his growing pains last year, and now you don't know how to get him the ball. You should know, Coach, you put him at the slot when he first got here, and now he knows the outside. Move this kid around and let this guy prosper.
Yeah, for the most part, you got to find a way to get him involved early and often. Same thing with Tony Pollard at the same time. Tony Pollard has been utilized a little bit less over the last couple of weeks. And when you look at the usage for Tony Pollard, Nate, when you want to establish a ground game, have they done enough to do so with Tony Pollard as the main tailback?
Yeah, I think they have, Kyle. But what they need to do is he is your main primary guy. He's the Austin Eckler. Use him. You've paid him. Use him. Burn him up. At the end of games, I want him in the cryo chamber. I don't want him walking around being able to interview after the game. I want him to be like in an ice bag, just a full body bag. That's what I need. And let's use this kid.
You say get the Patrick Ewing ice bags out, huh?
On them knees.
Hey, listen up, that's absolutely correct. You have a very dynamic running back, okay? So much so you thought enough of him to go out here and put the franchise tag on him. You are underutilizing him. He's not the only one. You brought up Austin Eckler on the opposing side of the field. Austin Eckler had 117 yards carrying and another, 70 or something like that receiving in week 1 prior to his injury. That's how you utilize it. Tony Pollard is a mismatch nightmare for anybody on the 2nd or 3rd level. Throw him the ball. Tony Pollard is also a monster when he gets the ball in his hand in terms of his speed. Put him in the zone scheme. Give him cutback lanes. You have an opportunity. You have the system. Let's just be effective, fellas.
What it sounds like is you guys are saying that there needs to be a little bit more creativity to the play calling responsibilities, and I'm with that on that one. But when it comes to Tony Pollard, I would love to see him get the ball more, whether it's in the passing game or the running game. Like both of you guys said, he's too explosive and he brings too much to the table for him to only be getting 12 carries here and there. 18 to 22 touches per game at least, in my opinion, is what Tony Pollard needs to happen to make sure this offense is productive. When you look at it, this guy, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run in between the tackles. He has the speed to go outside, and he is a home run every single time he touches the football. So why not get the man the ball some more? The Dallas Cowboys offense has to get a little bit more creative with their playmakers, and including Tony Pollard.
Pollard with a career low to this point, 4.2 yards per carry compared to 5.2 all of last year. So he was much more efficient, higher efficiency rate from the beginning. And y'all brought up Austin Eckler, so let's talk about Austin Eckler. Nate, how is he going to challenge this Dallas defense?
He going to stretch him. He going to take him deep. He going to get the screen game. This guy is 35% of their offense?
Yeah.
He's everything. You take away Herbert, and this is their guy. He's second to only Herbert. He makes everything. He stirs the drink for all the wide receivers, the tight ends. He is the guy. This is the guy that's going to make it happen. That's who we have to stop second to Herbert.
You know, I'm going to say you got to stop him first, Nate. You know what I'm saying? We're normally on the same page.
Right.
But let me help the people understand why. Austin Eckler is one of the most underrated, undervalued running backs, call it football players in the game today. Did you know that he has the most touchdowns from the scrimmage? Doesn't matter if you're receiver, running back. Most touchdowns from scrimmage since 2021. He leads the NFL with 39 touchdowns. If you don't know where this dude is at, he's going to hurt you.
Without a doubt. I'm agreeing with both of you guys on this one. When you talk about who the defense needs to focus on, who they need to make sure they know where it is at all times, and that's number 30, Austin Eckler. I mean, this guy, he's a true difference maker. He is a game changer for this LA Chargers offense. And what did this defense struggle with against last week? Screen plays. All right, and that's what Austin Eckler is efficient at. They will find a way to get him the football. He'll hide behind those offensive linemen, and the next thing you know, he's busting up the seams for a 30-yard gain. This defense has got to know where number 30 is at all time because he has the ability to hurt you.
Would you have to say that in order to stop Austin Eckler, this team needs to be physical throughout the game?
I would.
Maybe show a little bit of fight to get there? Well, there's reports surfacing now from SoFi Stadium that there was a pregame fight between the Chargers and the Cowboys. A little bit of a scuffle. Dante Fowler was the one name that was mentioned as being in the mix. More will come, I'm sure, of it over the next couple of minutes, and I'm sure they'll probably talk about it on the national broadcast. So we'll leave it at that, but there has been a little bit of edge.
I like it.
You like that,
that
from a pregame standpoint, right?
I love that. You know, they learned from their bullies from last week, the 49ers. They need to have a little fight. They got to have some bite, and you can't just do this. That's the one thing that I've seen about this team as of late that I don't like. I don't think any of us as former players like this. Go out there and hit these cats in the mouth in the pregame and when the game actually starts.
Well, I mentioned Dante Fowler, and we just finished talking about Austin Eckler. It was Dante Fowler hitting Austin Eckler pregame was the case.
Doesn't surprise me.
There you go. So, hey, showing a little bit of fight, little edginess going into this one. That's what you want to see from a team that's desperate and, of course, needs a big-time win on Monday Night Football. Speaking of physicality, it's hard to argue that Tyler Smith has been anything but the most physical player up front for the Dallas Cowboys this season. Nicole Hutchison has more on Tyler Smith and his journey to one of the top guards in the NFL.
Hey, what's up, Kyle? I'm back here at the Miller Lite House at the Star. The best game day experience you will experience is right here at the Miller Lite House at the Star in the Tostitos Championship Plaza. I had to come in and check in with my guy, DeMarcus Ware. But listen, it's week 2, right? Week 2, we get to see the big boys up front back together again. A star-studded offensive line that features a youngin, Tyler Smith, who has the ability to play both inside and out. Now, I spoke with him earlier this week, and, he's talked about how he was one of the most penalized guys in the NFL, and now he's the highest graded offensive lineman in the NFL, according to Pro Football Focus. And I caught up with him this week, and he talked about how he got here and the expectations for this offensive line tonight against the Chargers.
First, it all started with my set. I talked to JP a lot about my set. I was like, man, what stance should I take? Because we were, we set more vertical last year. So I'm like, what stance should I take, bro? He was like, whatever stance is comfortable for you to get back. And I'm like, I had to learn what get into a spot means. Like, people used to tell me, hey, get to your spot, get to your spot. And I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm like, aren't I kicking to him? And it's like, I learned some of the idiosyncrasies of playing offensive tackle in the league, like getting off the ball as fast as possible, being the fastest man off the ball to just put myself in positions to be successful. And then, I asked Zach, I'm like, hey, where do I put my, Zach or Tyron, where do I put my hands? How should I punch? Because, I used to kind of punch with my elbows flaring, and, that's something that detracts from your power. So they're like, just tighten your elbows, keep your hands close, and strike them, first significant touch. And there's so many of those just small things throughout the year that just really helped me, just stack and be successful.
Now you guys are getting the reps as an offensive line. Just how much are you looking forward to kind of really getting those reps and building that rapport back, since you guys haven't really played that much, this season? I
mean, it's exciting. And, it was great to finally, get that, the prophesized offensive line out there versus the 49ers. Obviously, we didn't get the result we wanted, but it's exciting. And, we built up a lot of chemistry throughout practice and training camp. That was something that was super cool to see. And just we know what we can do as an offensive line. I'm sure the whole world knows what we can do, but just getting better, being more consistent every day, just talking to the guys about some of the small ins and outs of the game, even as it occurs to me, because I'm a younger player, obviously, they have a lot of reps, they're very smart, they understand the system and things like that. So, as I pick up these keys and they're like, yeah, sis, yeah, it's exciting for me. And so I think the sky is really the limit for us.
Some high expectations for those boys to step up tonight, and hopefully they can step up tonight against the Chargers. But that'll do it for me right here in the Miller Lite House at the Star. Kyle, back to you.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Tyler Smith has been great this year. Tonight, just his second game with the entire offensive line up front. Fans enjoying Tostitos Championship Plaza here at the Star in Frisco as we are here for Cowboys pregame live, leading you up to kickoff between the Cowboys and the Chargers. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, and Nate Newton. Let's talk about the guys that Tyler Smith is going to have to try and block today. Joey Bosa and, of course, Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack had 6 sacks in their most recent game in Week 4 against the Las Vegas Raiders. You've blocked some pretty good guys back in your day, Nate Newton. How are these guys going to challenge that front line for the Dallas Cowboys?
First of all, Kyle, out of the middle have to be strong. So that guy we just saw talking has to have a great game along with the center and the right guard. They have to play great games because we can give a little help on that outside. We can help block Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack if we just can make sure that our middle is strong. And these guys got good enough feet that they can run these guys around the horn. So Dak going to have to be able to step up and have opportunity to make some plays.
You know what? I think that this offense negates what they do best, and that's pass rush. So I think being able to get the ball out their hands, as long as they are continuing to play the type of coverage that they've been showing on film. But if those guys decide to change that up and do what they saw the 49ers do, which is come up there, play press man, and disrupt the receiver's ability to get off the line of scrimmage, that's when I see this becoming a problem, because now Dak has to hold the ball a little bit longer, and it gives both of these guys an opportunity to get in the backfield.
Yeah, I'm going to side with my offensive brothers when it comes to this one. My only concern and my only worry is if both of these guys start to cook, we cannot leave these tackles on the island. We've seen it happen before in the past where defensive ends are wrecking games and we're just continuing leaving this guy on the island out there. If these guys are wrecking shop, have somebody go out there and chip. Let Tony Pollard chip. Let one of these tight ends go over there and help him out. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to these tackles, handling these two pass rushers. Let's see what happens tonight.
Whenever Barry Church, the defensive guru up here at the desk, agrees with the offensive guys, then you know it's pretty consensus across the board. Let's check in on the sidelines at SoFi Stadium, where Nick Eatman is now joined by Cowboys COO Stephen Jones.
Thank you, Kyle, and I'm here with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer here at SoFi. Monday Night Football, Cowboys and Chargers. I know you want to get that last week out of your mouth and just get ready for this one. What's the vibe so far as you're down here on the sidelines?
Well, that's it. I mean, our guys really worked hard. Obviously, a long week coming off one of our more disappointing losses that we've had around here in a while. But, you know, I just love our team. I love our players. I love our coaching staff, our organization. It's a long football season, and fully expect us to rebound and play, you know, really well the way we know this team can play.
You wanted them to come out swinging and have some fight. You might have seen some of that early on. I know it was hard to kind of tell. There was some pushing and shoving going on. Chargers and Cowboys, I think, is one of those walking on the field and all that. You like that? As long as it doesn't get anybody hurt. But
as long as it's just a little bit of that, it's probably doesn't hurt a lot. As you can see the energy both sides. They've been on a bye week. They've got a really good football team. And, you know, it's great to see the energy level. At the same time, you wanted to leave it at that. This is about the game, playing the game the right way, and we're looking forward to this one.
Obviously, there's a storyline with the play calling, with Mike McCarthy calling the plays, Kellen Moore on the other side. What do you expect to see from the Chargers offense? They've had 2 weeks off. What do you expect to see out of Kellen's offense?
Well, we absolutely have nothing but the utmost respect for Kellen and what he did here for the Cowboys, what he did to bring Dak along and develop him. He's one of the best coordinators in the league. I think they got a top 5 offense. And certainly Mike's resume speaks for itself. He's won Super Bowls, been in championship games, and I know he wants to improve on what happened last week and get after it here. So looking forward to it. That's what makes these storylines on these big games good, and certainly we have one here.
Not to give anything away, do you expect to see Micah Parsons in a different spot?
You know, Dan loves to use Mike in a lot of places. Certainly with us being losing Leighton, we could see him there some for sure, but Damone's going to play a lot more, and Bell's done a good job working his way in there, and I think Dan's got a great plan for tonight.
Of all the former players, coaches that you've seen here in the last 30 minutes here on the sideline, who's it been great to see the most? Troy, Jimmy, Marcus?
All the above. I know Jerry, Jimmy were having a fun visit.
Yeah, what were they talking about? Do you have any idea?
I hadn't got to talk to him since, so I don't think anyone wanted to interrupt.
No.
They were laughing. It was good.
Yeah, it was good.
And but no, I saw Marcus Spears, who just does an amazing job for us. Of course, Troy is one of the best in the business, if not the best, and always great to see our former players, you know, doing great things for our game, and they're the best at what they do.
And I know our fans will be surprised by this, but you had a nice conversation with Stephen A. Smith. He actually is a good friend of the family, right?
He is. He's a dear friend of Jerry and myself, and we think a lot of him. We all know that he makes a good living getting after our Cowboy fans, but we're going to give him something, hopefully, to have to back up a little bit tomorrow.
All right, sounds good. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. We'll throw it back to Kyle and the guys in the crew.
Thank you very much, Nick. Back here with Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. It's time now to give our keys to the game. Cowboys, Chargers, 7:15 on ESPN's Monday Night Football. Barry, I'll start with you. How did the Cowboys rebound in a big way and get to 4-2 going into the bye week?
Well, no surprise. I'm going to go on the defensive side of the football. And to me, they have got to win the battle of the trenches. I think they can make Justin Herbert uncomfortable out there. If those guys can generate a pass rush, it's going to be a must. So Cowboys defensively, you got to win the battle of the trenches.
Well, it comes to no surprise that I'm going to go on the offensive side of the ball. I think that the Dallas
like
Cowboys
got a feud forming here.
Yeah, exactly. Dallas Cowboys, Mike McCarthy, Schottenheimer, you guys have to score 35 points. I foresee this turning into a shootout, and you better find a way to change up what you've been doing offensively if you want to put some points up on the board.
Number 51, Sebastian Joseph Day. He plays in the middle of that defense. And if he get pressure up the middle, then Khalil Mack and Bosa going to eat. But if we can contain that guy right there, we should have a prosperous day.
I'm going to go with Isaiah's big watch right here. I'm going to say it's all about the time of possession. The Cowboys got to win the time of possession battle against a team that utilizes their weapons. They want to move the chains. They want to score points. And keep Kellen Moore out of that playbook. Keep him into the very fundamentals of what he brings to the table as an offensive coordinator. And I think if the Cowboys get that done, they will win this one here in Week 6. It was a beautiful night here in the Tostitos Championship Plaza at the Star in Frisco. It's not the only time we're going to be out here doing pregame live this season. We'll be back a couple more times and a few more times at AT&T Stadium this year as well. But it was a fun one today. 7:15 start time. It's the Cowboys and the Chargers. Cowboys Nation is ready for this one. For Barry, Isaiah, and Nate, I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long from the Star in Frisco. We'll see you post-game. Enjoy the game, everybody.